All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today, me and Nick here, 2023 preview and prediction for the Boston College Eagles. Jeff Hasley's back for his fourth year as lead man. This is a guy whose background as a long-tenured defensive back coach. Look at Steve Shimko. Spent the first 2 years as a tight end coach. He's going to be the offensive play caller this season. Sean Duggan and Abzar Abdul-Raham will be occupying the defensive coordinator position, and the biggest headline for the Eagles is the offensive woes hammered Boston College, and Hasley is now officially on the hot seat. Looking at this offense, Nick, it was expected to be bad, but I don't think people expected it to be this bad. First, you want to start with that offensive line. They replaced 4 starters last year, and then Christian Mahogany got hurt. I really feel for this football team because in 2021, if Phil Jurkovich doesn't get hurt, they had a chance of competing in the ACC, and him getting hurt early on in the year, that just derailed everything. So I really feel bad for this Eagles team, and they really felt the effects last year, especially up front. Christian Mahogany, he is back. He was one of the nation's top linemen in 2021. This is a guy who was a strong finisher that can land blocks at the second level. Great physicality in the run game at 6'3", 335. Good at getting outside leverage. He can really anchor down versus some strong bull rushers, too. He does have that limited range, is why they keep him inside. They're going to need that, though, Nick. Physicality in the run game this year, because last year, this is the worst running game I've probably ever seen in my lifetime watching college football. 63 rushing yards per game. The late Mike Leach, with his air raid attack, they're usually down in the dumps with those numbers in terms of running the football. That's just from a lack of scheming, though, or, the point of scheming, rather. They tried last year to run the football, Boston College. They just could not do it. Pat Garwo is a pretty solid running back as well, though. This is a guy who's an improved pass catcher, some really good vision, an aggressive runner. He can run in the piles and drive, good initial burst. He did a lot of that last year, Nick, running in the piles, driving, and just absolutely getting nowhere. 403 yards and 3 touchdowns as a team. 759 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 yards per carry. These are just the worst numbers I've ever seen. And it's evident. There's not much analysis here. The offensive line, we just talked about it, lost 4 guys. The only returner got hurt with a torn ACL. So nothing positive has happened here for Boston College. But there's not much that indicates they can get back to those ways because both tackles, Conley and Ozzy Trepo, they allowed 5 sacks each last year. Another offensive lineman, Jack Conley, they're probably going to put him at right tackle. He allowed 37 pressures a season ago. They did pick up Kyle Hergel, who was an all third-team Sun Belt at Texas State. He was a pretty good pass blocker. They have not did much, though, to really improve here on the ground, other than Mahogany coming back. What are your expectations for a run game that was just terrible?
Just an awful run game. I mean, one of the worst we've seen, like you said, 63.2 yards per game is just a stupidly low number. Worse than an FBS, just terrible. You can't I'm lost for words of how terrible it was. It's just unbelievable. 402 yards for Garwo on the ground, 3 yards per carry. I mean, just the numbers are poor. I like Mahogany a lot. Him returning, really the only bright spot on this running game / offensive line. I think Hergel as well, coming over from Texas State, has some potential. The tackles concern me a lot on the outside. I think center, there's a huge question mark there as well. Drew Kendall did not show me anything I wanted to see last year out of him. Jack Connolly, do you play him at tackle? Do you put a transfer in there and Logan Taylor? Are you slotting out someone else? Are you moving Mahogany? Are you keeping him a right guard? There's so many questions on this offensive line, this running game. They're gonna have to find a pulse here because it was an absolute disaster, and you cannot be competitive in the ACC if you have no running game like that. It's just absolutely pathetic to see from Boston College. They're gonna have to find a way to make it work this year.
Yeah, Logan Taylor, he was not good at all as a pass blocker for Virginia. Was a quality run assist, though, for them at left tackle. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting part of their football team, but some more positives, I would say, for them. Picking up Ryan O'Keefe, he reunites with his former wide receiver coach. This was a highly coveted guy in the portal, a veteran with some great speed. He can really stretch the field vertically. Great focus on the sideline. Some really good strength for his size of 5'10", 175. Shows good abilities in traffic through contact. Lacks that catch radius and doesn't really have a proven route tree. Run after catch is certainly a plus for him. He won't be as good as Zay Flowers, but they're hoping he can certainly come in and have a similar impact. They're going to pair him up with Joseph Griffin. Some, great raw talent from him. He can really bully opposing defensive backs with his size of 6'4", 200. Excellent speed as well. Really good at snagging some passes. They're going to pair them guys up with Emmett Moorhead at quarterback, who played the last couple games of last season. Of course, Phil Jurkovich transfers out to Pitt. This guy has a complete statue in the pocket, though. Really struggled under pressure. It was kind of expected for a young guy that really probably shouldn't have even been playing at this point in his career. Certainly didn't expect to. Good job of distributing short yardage, though. He's got a long wind-up. I think he does a pretty good job of throwing high catchable balls, though. Certainly puts enough air on it for the most part. I think this is a solid project QB that showcased some good timing, Nick. 6'5", 228. What do you make of this passing game that certainly has a little bit of upside?
There is some potential here. Moorhead, didn't play a whole lot, 4.5 games last year, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 1,200 yards, about 60% complete percentage. A lot of potential. Moorhead, young guy, wasn't really expected to be thrusted into that position here. They lose Zay Flowers, of course, which is a tough shoe to fill, right? I think Ryan O'Keefe is a great player to have. I think Joseph Griffin Jr. is another decent piece to add to this wide receiving core. I think he had 234 yards last year, 5 touchdowns for him. You got to replace 1,000 yards plus with Zay Flowers and 12 scores, right? That's going to be a tough shoes to fill. Are they going to be able to get that out of Ryan O'Keefe? I'm not entirely sure, but if they can find a way to start filling that void, this passing game could be not too bad next year.
Second leading receiver, Jalen Gill, he also transferred out. Another note on that offensive line from 2021 is 4 of those members landed on all ACC teams, and 1 was an honorable mention. So the entire offensive line was noted by the entire conference. They had to replace all those guys, and obviously talent has not been replicated one bit. George Takas at tight end. This is a guy that's certainly a good returnee for them. They're hoping to get some more production out of him. Dino Tomlin, Mike Tomlin's son, maybe he can step up. Overall, C+ for me. Maybe that's too high, but I definitely like the 2 pass catchers they have. Garwo's a pretty good running back as well. He's been pretty solid in terms of production. And then Moorhead, again, I think he's a solid guy that performed pretty well in 4.5 games, or as well as they could. Offensive line needs to take some big steps forward. I don't know if they really will. C+ for me. How you feeling?
I think it's a C offense. I think there's just so many question marks on the offensive line. This team did not run the ball at all really last year. They were trying, but like you said, 63.2 yards per game on the ground. It's just a gross number. I'm concerned about this offense. I think it's a C for me. There's a lot of question marks here. This offense line has to show me leaps and bounds improvements this year.
They did pick up Kai Robachek as well from Western Kentucky, a guy that was in a high-flying offense. Hoping he can have a bit of an impact for him. Look at the defensive side of the ball for Boston College. This is a team that loses 5 guys in the portal. They did add 4, 3 in the secondary. Josh DeBerry, one of the top players in the conference, leaves for Texas A&M, so that's certainly going to hurt them. 5 returning starters. This is a veteran front 7 we'll get to in a second. I'm very impressed with what they have there. Have some nice options at linebacker. They do return 4 of their top 5 tacklers. The run defense seemed to give up over the final month of the year. Nearly 218 yards per game allowed on the ground. This is a productive defensive line with some rotation. I do think they lack size. George Rooks, a Michigan transfer. He's getting his hands up, a versatile player. Neto Akpala, he's expected to emerge one more. He's a big-time returnee for them. I think defensive end Donovan Izaruka, good drop-step move, great quickness. He burns these slower-moving tackles with a great burst of 6'2", 250. This is a player I think certainly going to compete for all-conference honors this year. 14.5 tackles for loss for him, 8.5 sacks. I mean, this is a guy who was very good for this football team. Marcus Valdez, he departs. 27 sacks last year from Boston College. It's certainly a nice number. And I think, Cam Horsley at nose tackle at senior coming back, that's going to be good for them. Chris Banks as well. I think this defensive line is a lot better than people are probably going to rate. But what kind of impact will they have for this year's defense for Jeff Hafley, Nick? How do you feel?
I agree. I like this defensive line. There's a lot of talent here. Cam Horsley, 5.5 tackles for loss, a sack for him, 30 total tackles. Chris Banks, 20 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss for him. Donovan Izaruku, 14.5 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks for him, 2 pass breakups. He's a huge returning production piece. I love him on the defensive line. This guy's going to be all over the headlines, I think, for this Boston College team. 61 total tackles for him last year. Big piece to add in the defensive line there. I think there's a lot of potential with the defensive line. Very underrated defensive line in college football. I think there's a lot of talent here. They can continue to get after the quarterback and stuff the run here. I think there's some potential with this defensive line.
Shida Shiva, 6'4", 253. He missed last season. Had 4 tackles for loss and was a big asset versus the run in 2021. So he's a big returnee up there. This pass rushing group needs a bit of a boost, and the defensive line doesn't have size, but I think they have a nice, solid rotation, some talented players there. They get linebacker, Vinny DePalma, a bit undersized, but showcases some quick movements. He's going to come back. Will he get wiped out by the bigger blockers? That certainly causes him to overshoot on tackles as he looks to avoid contact. Certainly want to see him improve his toughness. 5'11", 225, though that's not great, especially in this conference. Cam Arnold, Bryce Steele, they both had 50-plus tackles last season at linebacker. So overall, I think this is a pretty sound front 7, a lot better than what some teams have in America, especially when 2 of your top 3 tackles are back, Cam Arnold being another one of those guys. How do you feel about this front 7 overall as a whole, Nick? I think it's certainly hopeful, and I think they have some really good football players. But is it going to be enough to, improve a team that was ranked 88 against the run in college football?
They do return a lot of production, in terms of tackles in the front 7. DePalma, 87 total tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and a sack for him. Arnold as well, 75 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and a sack and a half for him. That production of DePalma and Arnold is huge, right? These are guys that are veterans that have played for a while here. Arnold senior, Palmer, graduate senior, 5th year. I love this production out of this front seven. I think these guys are good for a great season here. If they can improve against the run, they were already really solid against the pass defense. If they can get after the quarterback, get some more sacks here, I think this defense could be very underrated in the ACC.
One of the predictions I made in 2021 for Boston College is that their secondary would be one of the nation's better units, and they were, top 5 in most categories. They fell off a solid bit this past year. It wasn't bad by any means. Definitely the ball production fell off. Josh DeBerry again departing. That's going to be big for them. But Elijah Jones comes back, 13 pass breakups last year, a longtime veteran, some good anticipation, some really good quick closing speed, straight line speed to plus, good awareness and IQ. He's going to be a leader in this back end. Safety Cole Batson, he showcased some great range and coverage. He's a rising redshirt sophomore. And then LIU transfer Victor Nelson, 6'2", 210. The ideal size to play that overhang position in the slot, that's a staple in Jeff Hafley's defense. Typically has a bigger safety to play that overhang position. This is a 4-2-5 they operate out of. So I think this is going to be an underrated add here in the slot, Victor Nelson. How do you feel about the secondary, Nick? Because they certainly, in terms of returning production and notable names, they don't have a lot of guys. Adding Nelson, Kari Johnson, Alex Washington via the portal. There's going to be a lot of new names here. But Elijah Jones, this guy's going to be big for them. He's probably going to be a first or second all-team or all-ACC corner, which leads to me giving this unit a B-, even though I think this secondary mixed with this front seven, I think they can certainly have some good improvements. And I think 100th in scoring defense, you're going to see that, an uptick in that by a couple positions at least.
Yeah, I think this is not a bad secondary. Elijah Jones, 13 pass breakups last season, 2 interceptions, 34 total tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, and a sack. I like him a whole lot. They made some good moves in the portal there. I like the piece they picked up. Alex Washington, Kari Johnson, Victor Nelson, very solid pieces. Cole Bateson as well, underrated younger guy that's going to get some good experience here. He didn't play a whole lot last year, but he had 29 total tackles, 2 pass breakups, and interception. His limited action this past season. I like this defense a lot. I think it's a B for me. I think there's some potential. They got to avoid regression in the secondary. This against the pass last year, 44 in the nation, 211.2 yards game given up through the air. I like this defense. I think if this team's going to have a pulse and get to that 6-7 win total, it's going to come from the defense here.
What needs to improve, edge pass rushing. We just raved kind of about this defensive end group. Only 27 sacks as a whole from this unit last year. Definitely need to see a big beef up from the defensive end position, minus Easy Rorku. I think he obviously did his role, but he needs some guys to step up, and I think they have the potential to do that. And like you said, avoid any recession in the secondary. It's going to lead us to the schedule preview and prediction. One of the nation's worst offensive lines has some immense progress to do. Should be much easier with the return of Mahogany and a handful of transfers. 2 guys coming in, a handful of options for them. In terms of supporting cast, mixed with a serviceable young quarterback, I think this offense should certainly improve by at least 7 points per game. I don't think that's asking too much at all. What was it, 17 points per game last year they had on the offensive side of the ball. So I think that's certainly something that can happen, Nick. A big fan of the defensive line and the front seven as a whole. That should certainly help this defense improve. They must take a sizable leap, though, to offset the inexperience in the secondary. A very easy schedule. It's going to allow them to cruise to a bowl game, with potential for more. Look at the first 6. I think Louisville's going to give them issues, as will Florida State, Virginia, Holy Cross, NIU. These are going to be 3 wins. Going on the road at Army, that should be an interesting one to watch on October 7th. And then 2 more free wins, I would say, in Georgia Tech and UConn. And I think I'll give them a home win against a revamped Virginia Tech team. This schedule, top to bottom, even in the losses, Nick, this is a pretty easy slate for Boston College. So I'm going to go for a 3-6 record in the conference, but they will make a bowl game.
Very easy schedule here. I think if Jeff Hafley gets anything less than 6 wins with this schedule, I think he's going to be fired, right? I think this is a schedule you have to get at least 5 wins on, and 6 should be the goal here, right? Northern Illinois, Holy Cross, UConn, Army, Georgia Tech. These are all very winnable games. Virginia Tech. You got to get one of those 2. I think 6 should be where this team is. If anything less than 6, I think Hafley needs to lose his job here. I think this is a very favorable schedule, very easy schedule, especially for the defense that has a lot of talent and a lot of room to step up here. I think some of these games, they could potentially find themselves in a good, good old-fashioned low-scoring win for this team. Very easy schedule here in Chestnut Hill. A lot of potential for this Boston College team. They could be in a bowl game, and I think if you get to a bowl game, that's going to add some nice security. Hafley, who's definitely on the hot seat.
Yeah, I just can only imagine how that offensive line will look week 3 against Florida State. It's going to be a big early season test. It's going to kind of set the tone for the rest of the year for this team. It's going to be it for today's episode, Nick. I appreciate you joining me here to break down the Eagles.
Absolutely. Looking forward to this season in the ACC for Boston College.
Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.